Okay, so today we're going to talk about all the different cycles that we see in nature. So I know you've gone over the water cycle in the past, and I know that we've talked a little bit about the rock cycle. We're not going to go really deep into that because we talked about weathering and erosion, and that's what really matters when we're talking about the rock cycle. So we're going to talk about all of the other cycles that we see in nature. So biogeochemical. So bio means life, and geo means earth. So we're looking at all of the biological earth chemical cycles. So these are elements and compounds that forms that are passed from one organism to another or from one biosphere to another. So biological, geological, chemical aspects, they connect all of them. So when we talk about biology, when we talk about geology, and we talk about chemistry, you think of that as three different courses, but technically they all work together. You're just learning them in different times. So, like I said, it's just a little review of the water cycle. Of course, water, it comes from the rain. It condenses into that liquid precipitation. The rain falls onto Earth. Then you have evaporation where it goes back up again. It sits in one spot. Here is the water cycle. I mean, we're not really going to test over the water cycle, but this is something good to know. So you have evaporation, precipitation, condensation. So transpiration is when it goes straight from the roots to the air. So that's like a evaporation with a plant in the middle. So you have your evaporation from your runoff, from your groundwater, condensation where it turns into the clouds, precipitation where it drops back down. So this is the big one that we're going to be talking about after this unit. So pay attention to this more than the other ones, and we'll talk about another carbon cycle, another aspect of the carbon cycle later on. But the carbon cycle is how oxygen and carbon are recycled from the atmosphere or from the ground into the atmosphere, and the cycle as it goes. So the biggest thing that goes with this is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is what plants use the carbon for to create energy. So they create energy into glucose and oxygen from water and carbon dioxide. Producers, consumers, and decomposers all play a role in this. So the producers are your plants. Plants and consumers depend on each other because we need the energy from plants in order to survive. We need the oxygen from plants to survive as well. So we use the byproducts of photosynthesis. So producers take the carbon dioxide in, they give off oxygen, we take in oxygen, we give off carbon dioxide. So consumers also eat the plants for the glucose, and it releases that carbon dioxide and carbon waste products into our atmosphere. Decomposers break down this and also release carbon dioxide. So they'll break down the waste from consumers to create more carbon dioxide. So you can see that there is already a process without adding anything else to the system. There's already a process of carbon dioxide being released into the atmosphere more than what oxygen is. So carbon plays a role in four main processes. So you have your biological processes like photosynthesis, respiration, and decomposition. Burial and decomposition of dead organisms creates more, so it will create that fossil fuel. Oil and natural gas and gasoline, all these things come from older dead animals. So they are going to be the fossilized carbon that stays under the ground. Now, geochemical processes such as erosion and volcanic activity also release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere because you're taking things that are underneath the surface and releasing it into the atmosphere. The problem is that a lot of things that are in the soil, so like oil and coal, are now being used to heat your homes, to move your cars, to make sure that Amazon package gets to your house in 2 days. The problem is that we're taking carbon that's been under the water or under the ground for so long, and we're mining it, burning it. We're burning forests like the rainforest. We're burning fossil fuels, and that is sending more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than just what our consumers do with plants. So humans are affecting this aspect by burning oil and burning forests. When we are taking away the forest and not replanting different plants to replace those photosynthesis users, we are once again making the process of bringing all that carbon dioxide back down to Earth harder because we don't have as many photosynthesis users that are using that carbon dioxide. So, and if we're giving off more carbon dioxide than the plants can keep up with, then there's already the problem, and now we're taking away for lumber, for our houses, for our workplaces, for all of that. Human impact, also we see acid rain. So there's so much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that we are causing that to happen in our rain. It is coming back down in that aspect. It's lowering the pH, which is harmful to plants and animals. We'll talk more about that later. So you can see carbon dioxide is much more outweighing the amount of oxygen that's being put into the system. Nitrogen cycle. So atmosphere has main reservoir for nitrogen, but we also have cycles through soil and living organisms as well. So nitrogen, of course, is about 78% of our atmosphere, and this cannot be used until it is fixed. So fixed nitrogen is what we use to grow plants, and bacteria are what fix this nitrogen. So they change free nitrogen into usable nitrogen. So as we go, nitrogen from the air is brought down into the soil. Bacteria find this and then give it to the plants, which are then eaten by the animals, and we continue this free nitrogen back into the air. Decomposers break down this, so the bacteria are what fix this free nitrogen. So producers use nitrogen to build proteins and compounds. Decomposers break down waste to return it to the atmosphere. So you can see this process going. So decomposers return it to the atmosphere, and fixed nitrogen by these bacteria is being used by the producers. So denitrifying bacteria are the type that will return it back to the atmosphere. And if you would like a visualization, I will post this on there so you can see what we're talking about. So the phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is in the biosphere cycle that land, ocean, living organisms, they will all take it in. So you can see as you go through, your phosphorus is taken into the soil. It goes down into silt to become new rock. Your geological uplift pushes the new rock to the surface, and that's how our phosphorus gradually gets put in. Make sure that you see how erosion works with this process, and it will go along with the rock cycle as well. Make sure you look at how runoff affects phosphates, how plants absorb phosphorus in order to give more to the animals, and the animals use decomposers, get into the water, and then the new rock gets pushed to the surface. All right, that is all for today, and get ready for your tests in on Friday. All right.